Roll call.
Mr. Loretta?
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Mr. Berthold? Mr. Metcalf?
Here.
Mr. Paul?
Here.
Mr. Romagna?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here. All members of council are here and our calendar. Except for Mrs. Mrs. Kerwin. Your Honor. Mr. Metcalf.
Excuse Mrs. Berthold, meeting on Steve.
Second.
Clearly moved and second that Ms. Kerwin be excused from tonight's council meeting. Roll call.
Mr. De Loretta?
Here.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Here. Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Romagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye. So moved. Ms. Kerwin will be excused from tonight's council meeting. Mr. Davis.
Yes, Your Honor. I move that the minutes of July 7th and July 14th of 2015 be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that the minutes of July 7th, 2015 and July 14th, 2015 be approved as written. Roll call.
Mr. De Loretta?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Romagna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved. Minutes accepted. Petitions and communications, Madam Clerk.
Yes, I have a letter dated July 10th, 2015 from Jack Sarah, State Representative. Dear council members, thank you for your recent letter regarding the loss of local government funding and the financial impact it is having on the city of Steubenville. Like you, I am equally frustrated that the Kasich administration and the House Republican majority did not consider reinstating funding levels on this important line item in the recent state budget. My caucus and I worked diligently during the budget process to offer and support amendments that call for increasing the LGF line item in the budget so that our local governments did not have to struggle to provide basic services. Sadly, we were not able to garner the necessary support needed in order to include these amendments in the budget bill. The elimination of the estate tax and the tangible personal property tax in past budgets was another decision that impacts our local governments because it removed funding from the LGF. In addition to these previous tax law changes, the reduction in the income tax approved in the budget just passed will also reduce state dollars to the LGF. Meanwhile, the budget increased the amount of funding going to the Budget Stabilization Fund or Rainy Day Fund. While it is important to maintain an adequate fund, the legislature could have maintained the fund and still restores funding to local governments. As you may already know, I have introduced legislation in the last two general assemblies that calls for restoring dollars to the local government fund back to the level it was funded in 2005. This proposal, House Bill 42, would be the first step in renewing the partnership that used to exist between state and local governments should it pass this general assembly. To date, it has not received a hearing. Additionally, I have crafted legislation that earmarks part of the severance tax from the oil and gas industry for local governments. This legislation is HB 162. Finally, I will soon be appointed to a new committee to review the tax structure in Ohio. As a member of this committee, I will advocate for our local governments to make sure they are not further adversely affected by any tax law changes. Thank you again for writing. Rest assured that I will continue my fight on the need to replenish the local government fund. I will be happy to accept your invitation to speak on this important topic. Please feel free to contact my office anytime. Sincerely, Jack Sarah, State Representative, 96 Health District.
Mr. Metcalf.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion that this communication be made part of the minutes this evening.
Second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded that communication be received, filed, made part of the minutes. Roll call.
Mr. De Loretto?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf?
Aye.
Mr. Paul?
Aye.
Mr. Bill Magna?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
So moved, communication accepted. Before we move on, you have other communications. There is a question I have for our law director. Since you're still actively involved with the Ohio Municipal League, and according to their legislative bulletin dated June 19th is when this was all brought to our attention, and you indicated we should send a letter to our representative. We did, and heard the response. There's another piece of communication that will directly affect the city through RETA. And I believe this is for the substitute House Bill number 5. I believe you might even send out an email piece of communication, how it would substantially affect the collection and our income tax. Can you expand on that or give us some additional information? Because here's what I'm seriously considering, is inviting our representative, Jack Sarah, along with our state senator, Lou Gentel, along with representatives from the Ohio Municipal League to address this council on both issues.
Yeah, in fact, Your Honor, I'll be traveling to Columbus tomorrow for the Ohio Municipal Attorneys Association meetings for Thursday and Friday. And one of the important topics we'll be talking about is that all of the municipalities in the state are going to have to change their tax codes in regards to the collection process. And they're going to have a workshop up there in the next day or two, so I'll be bringing some more information, and I'll be talking with Rita just how that is going to affect us, because we are going to lose a percentage now. How much that percentage is going to be, we don't know, but like I said, in the next few days I'll be attending some meetings up there, and I'll be able to bring some more information back here on.
So it is true that they're encouraging us to adopt ordinances for new tax codes to reflect what the state is doing.
Right.
And that could be possibly a loss of income for the
Right,
state.
it will be a loss of income, and there will be some sample legislation and ordinances that they're going to be introducing up to Congress that I'll bring back, talk to Rita, because I'm sure Rita's aware of it. What that percentage is going to be, we don't know yet. But this has to be in place by January 2016. So within the next month or two, I'll be introducing legislation for you guys to consider so we can update our tax codes so we can begin our collections.
Here's a sample of the ordinance that they would want us to adopt. Thank you, Mr. Rapella. You're welcome, Your Honor. Is there any other communications and petitions, Madam Clerk? Pardon? I don't know where you come from. Do you want her to read that?
Then no.
We will now move into the ordinances and resolutions before City Council this evening, and we'll start off with ordinance number 2015-64 by the Finance Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its third and final reading.
Ordinance number 2015-64, an ordinance authorizing and directing the approval of expenditures without a purchase order over $3,000 pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 5705.41.
You heard the third and final reading of ordinance number 2015-64. Is there anyone wishing to speak on it? Please come forward, state their name and address. If not, members council.
Question.
Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto. Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf.
Aye.
Mr. Paul.
Aye.
Mr. Villaggi.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
So moved. Ordinance number 2015-64 duly adopted. Ordinance number 2015-67 by the Service Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. DiLoretto, Mr. Paul, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-67, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the City of Steubenville, Austin Avenue Bridge Replacement, JEF-43-00.90, PID 94161, City Project number 2012-155, and perform all necessary functions that may be required to complete said project.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-67. The third and final reading will be 2 weeks hence on August 4th. If adopted by City Council, the effective date of this ordinance is September 5th. Resolution number 2015-68 by the Service Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. DiLoretto, Mr. Paul, for its second reading.
Resolution number 2015-68, a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to make application for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to be used towards funding the city of Steubenville, Lawson Avenue Bridge Replacement, JEF-43-00.90, PID 94161, City Project number 2012-155, and to execute contracts as required.
Hearing the second reading of resolution number 2015-68. The third and final reading will be 2 weeks hence on August 4th. If adopted by City Council, the effective date will be September 5th. Resolution number 2015-69 by the Service Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Gioretto, Mr. Paul, for its second reading.
Resolution number 2015-69, a resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to make application for a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission to be used towards funding the city of Steubenville, Lovers Lane, and Sport Student Drive intersection improvement project, PID 90234, City Project number 2012-127, and to execute contracts as required.
Hearing the second reading of resolution number 2015-69, a third and final reading is scheduled for August 4th. If adopted by City Council, effective date would be September 5th. Ordinance number 2015-70 by the Finance Committee, Mr. Metcalf, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its second reading.
Ordinance number 2015-70, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to advertise for bids for hospitalization, medical surgical benefits, and major medical benefits for the officers and employees of the city of Steubenville, subject to the right to reject any and all bids, and authorizing the entering into a contract upon approval of the lowest and best bid.
You heard the second reading of ordinance number 2015-70. The third and final reading is scheduled for August 4th. If adopted by City Council, the effective date would be September 5th. Ordinance number 2015-71. Before we call this ordinance to, we need a motion for 72 hours. Mr. Davis.
Yes, a little explanation before I read the motion. Last week, our council clerk was off, so we did sunshine all of these ordinances last week. Council was totally aware of them, but we didn't physically have them in our hands to email yesterday, so there's a 72-hour thing to get. Okay, so Mayor, I would move that rule requiring ordinance and resolution to be in council's hands 72 hours prior to council's meeting be suspended, and the ordinances number 2015-71, 72, and 73 be acted on this evening for this council's approval or rejection.
Second.
It's been ready and second that the Phillips County ordinances and resolution of the council stand 72 hours prior to council meeting is suspended. And ordinance number 2015-71, ordinance number 2015-72, and ordinance number 2015-73 be acted upon for its vice passage, introduction, or adoption, or readings. Roll call.
Mr. DiLoretto.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. Metcalf.
Aye.
Mr. Paul.
Aye.
Mr. Villamagna.
Aye.
Mr. Davis.
Aye.
So moved, rule suspended. Ordinance number 2015-71 by the Planning Committee, Ms. Kirkall, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its first reading.
Ordinance number 2015-71, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1992-20 as amended, the zoning ordinance of the city of Steubenville, Ohio, by rezoning property owned by Francis L. Brill located at 608 Oxford Boulevard, Steubenville, Ohio, from R1 Low Density Residential District to B2 Community Commercial District.
You heard the first reading of ordinance number 2015-71. Its second reading will be scheduled 2 weeks hence on August 4th. The third and final reading is scheduled for September 15th. The Steubenville Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on September 14th. Ordinance number 2015-72 by the Planning Committee, Ms. Kirkall, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson, for its first reading.
Ordinance number 2015-72, an ordinance amending chapter 1175 of the zoning code creating the Marion Place Neighborhood Conservation District.
You heard the first reading of ordinance number 2015-72. Its second reading will be scheduled 2 weeks hence on August 4th. The third and final reading will be September 15th, with a public hearing of the Planning and Zoning Commission scheduled for September 14th. Ordinance number 2015-73 by the Planning Committee, Ms. Curdaw, Mr. Davis, Mr. Johnson.
Ordinance
For
number,
its first reading.
ordinance number 2015-73, an ordinance amending chapter 1175 of the zoning code creating the McCausland Manor Neighborhood Conservation District.
You heard the first reading of ordinance number 2015-73. Its second reading will be scheduled 2 weeks hence on August 4th. The third and final reading will be scheduled for September 15th, with a planning commission meeting scheduled for September 14th. That will conclude the ordinances and resolutions before City Council this evening. We will now move into the report of committees, and we'll start off with Mr. Giarretto.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Giarretto. Mr. Johnson?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Metcalf?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Metcalf. Mr. Paul?
I have something, Your Honor. It's, today, I took today off, and I went down to the marina. And as you know, they're painting the marina, they're revitalizing it, they're doing a great job. I went down and there was 25 to 30 some people down there. I'm proud to say that they're moving rather well. The color's starting to come back. It's going to take a lot of effort to keep it that way, but for right now, they're taking a lot of pride in this city. I'm very proud of those citizens, and I have it really touched my heart today to be down there with those people. I was down there for about 5 hours. We painted the flag, all the stars and everything. We painted the flags, set the Ohio set. Someone wanted to put one of those Go Buckeyes up there, but I thought, why do you want to do that? Well, I knew people wouldn't like that, but yeah, Go Buckeyes. Anyhow, they did say to me, okay, since it's an 8 to 2 project, they didn't want to leave anybody out, just work steady daylight. So they said tomorrow night they're going to have a painting party from 5 to 8. So they invited everybody in council and everybody here tonight. If you want to go down and help paint tomorrow, 5 to 8. They said they might even provide water, some other things. I know today Mr. Freilich provided the lunch for everybody. I didn't eat. I was a little tardy as always, as you know. And I just continue to paint. But we got the project, pretty much the flag is done. But they're going to continue painting tomorrow. We got some big trees to take out. And they're growing right in the center of the expansion joints. It's amazing down there what these trees are, what they're doing, they're overtaking the concrete. But I just want to let you know, tomorrow you're more than welcome to come down and help these individuals. Great group of people. 5 to 8 tomorrow night, down at the marina.
Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And they are doing an outstanding job down there. And quite frankly, the JV Green Team did apply. We got 48 gallons of paint from Sherwin-Williams. And although it takes about 110 gallons of paint to paint the wall, we got 40 of it through a grant through the JV Green Team, Sherwin-Williams, and we want to thank them, of course. And of course, some of the staff at the JV assisted in coordinating it. But really, Mary Beth Seals, our recreation director, did a lot of that coordinating also, along with input and assistance with Mr. Beer. We also want to thank our fire department who went down to hose off the wall and prep the wall for some of the work that was done here too. Thank you for calling that to everybody's attention, Mr. Paul. We'll continue on with committee, with committee reports to Mr. Bill Mack.
Mayor, just to make aware, that's all, the top lot at Parkdale Road, I don't know if the car hit that or what, but the guardrail's totally wiped out there. And car could go right over the hill, right onto that tot lot. And the other part was, Mike, did you ever, remember I told you about Argonne Avenue? That end?
The east, Argonne Avenue.
Yes. No, west. You gonna be around?
Yes.
I'll talk to you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Mack. Mr. Davis.
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. That will conclude the report of committees from the members of council. We will now move into the report of the administrative officers. And then we'll start off with our city manager, Mr. Baldwin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a very short report, even shorter, because I was going to mention the Marina Wall. So thanks to Councilman Paul for doing that, and they are doing a wonderful job. I just wanted to point out to council, each of you received a monthly report from the administration, a little bit new or newer format. So please feel free to review that and let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to get back with you on that. The only other item, I hate to, Mike, maybe you and Chris put you on the spot still a little bit. Maybe just a quick update on the hot mix program and the CDBG program, just where we are with the various roads that have been under improvement. I'd appreciate it.
Our asphalt paving program was actually combined this year with the hot mix program, the City 710 program, as well as the CDBG program. We started at the beginning of June, and it was completed roughly around July the 8th. So right now, the project is 99.9% complete. There's still some punch list items and some new signs, stop signs, street name signs that need to go up. But for the most part, that project is complete. I'm proud to say it's under budget. I think the estimate was, or the contractor was $621,000, and I think we're going to come in right around $610,000. The next project that's on our plate is the Mall Drive and Fort Steubenville Drive resurfacing project. We did receive, it's a $325,000 project, and we did receive a grant from the Ohio Public Works Commission in the amount of $199,000. And we just received that grant on July the 6th, and in turn we entered into a contract on July the 6th. It's unfortunate, probably with all the rain, Shelley is quite backed up. We're probably going to try to get to it sometime mid-August. The start date, the completion date is the very end of September. So that's what we've been working on.
Thank you, Mike.
Maybe an update here, Tim. It might be a good time for, I apologize, this has to do with the water line project on Loretta Drive. Same thing, we opened up bids in May 13th, but we couldn't enter into a contract until we received the award of a grant. The grant was approximately $91,700. We received that grant award notice at the end of June. We entered into a contract on, I believe, July the 13th, and we had a pre-construction meeting already, and that contractor is looking to get started on April 3rd, or, I'm sorry, August 3rd, or August the 10th. And it's unfortunate that we're going to start this late, but he kind of got pushed back because of the rain as well. We wanted to get him in there at the beginning of July, but it got pushed back. And there will be some road closures and detours in that area. But we have closed the road at John Scott before. We communicate real well with 911 and the fire department, so that should work smoothly. And I'm sure the residents in that area will be happy once that job's complete. That's all.
Very good. Thanks, Mike. Chris and Bob, anything that you wanted to add? Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Boland. We'll continue on with the administrative officers to our law director, Mr. Rappel.
I have no report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Rappel. Once again, I'd like to thank department heads for attending tonight's council meeting. None signing in on miscellaneous. We will now move to public forum. Is there anyone wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. Not Mr. Metcalf. Oh.
Hi, William Isaac, Trading Air, Boston Avenue, Steubenville. Mr. Mayor, I asked you about the bylaws involving the Metropolitan Housing Authority. It's indicated that you had 2 appointees. There was some language asked in the bylaws. So I would imagine under the state of Ohio codes, gives you the authority. You have two appointees onto that board, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Tell me who those 2 appointees are. I think I know one, but I'd rather hear it from you.
Mr. Gioretto and
Torchy Smith? Okay, thank you. I had gone to some of the HUD meetings after reading articles in the newspaper. I just wanted to learn for myself what was actually going on and learn some of the residents' concerns. I did talk to a few of the residents. One of them probably will speak right after me. And I asked her what it's like living there. I don't live in those conditions that were alleged. And it's like a lot of the residents in that JFK housing apartment complex were really concerned, upset, mad, angry at the conditions they're living in with a lot of infestations. I can't imagine what they were going through, and I've told a lot of them that also. Just the last meeting, they had a special meeting a couple of days ago where Dave Hyman had actually stepped down and appointed somebody as an executive director there. It's going to be a short-term thing until they find somebody to come in as a director. And I was talking to one of the residents in the hallway, just for a brief 2 or 3 minutes, and Torche Smith walked down the hallway, and I exchanged pleasantries with her, just saying hello, and she said hello back to me. But at the board meeting, after it was opened up, she dug into me, pointing her finger at me, saying, he's a liar. He had a meeting in the hallway with another resident. I said, excuse me, ma'am, I didn't have a meeting. I had a conversation with somebody. Don't lie to me. You're lying. Keep your mouth shut. This was while the meeting was going on. As a resident of Steubenville, Jefferson County, I don't feel like I should be treated that way by any board member. I'm going to ask you if you could reconsider, or maybe examine or look into why this woman has this attitude. I'm sure her job is stressful. I believe she should control herself and not talk to me. I don't know if she talks to other residents like that, but there's some residents I think will speak right after me. Thank you. Mr. Bowman, last week I mentioned something about the CHIP grants. You were going to look into it last week. I know you're busy. If you didn't get the information, that's fine. It dealt with the
You do have that information.
2013 application of the CHIP program, whereas they did a census tract 4, and talked to John Saunders from Marietta, Ohio. He's in charge of overseeing a lot of things. He says in 2015, we, the city of Steubenville, could have applied for another CHIP grant, and there would not be any usage of a census tract like they did in 2013. This would be citywide. There would not be any requirements. If you looked into that at all, my question is, why didn't we file for 2015 for the city of Steubenville?
Yeah, Mr. Isaac, that was looked into, and I know that I sent an email out to council. Our urban projects director is here. He can respond to it probably in a shorter amount of time than I can, but if we allow, if Chris can speak to that, I'd appreciate it. Could you answer that, Chris? I've got the email here if you want.
There are, and I'll try and be brief because it's more complex than I can really state here, but there are issues related to the CHIP program and its requirements. It's related to inspections, contractors, staffing, that we need to fully evaluate our current CHIP program. Once to close that grade out, determine if it was successful, determine what the issues were that are ongoing with the CHIP program, and whether or not it's beneficial, or whether or not it's the city will be interested in applying for future CHIP funds. Once our current CHIP grant is fully closed out and monitored, we can assess that situation and determine if we want to go for future CHIP funds. Until that's done, and there are issues that are resolved with not only CHIP program requirements, but other issues related to contractors, staffing, and inspections, then I'd be hesitant to apply for any more CHIP funds.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bowman. Mr. Councilman Paul, I
Yes,
talked with a woman that she's a plastic surgeon down in Wheeling. She's also signed on to help with your colony, cat colony.
Cat colony, yes.
So there's a lot of people. But I'm working on that local liquor option petition, so I'll bring it done. And then I'll kind of round
Okay.
everybody up, but I'll let you know.
Okay, no problem, thank you. Appreciate that.
So, let's see, there's a recreation meeting, I would just want to bring that to light. The second Wednesday of August at 7 o'clock, it's going to be August 12th. I just want to ask Mr. Johnson, I know your brother's a coach for some of these baseball teams, if you could pass the information on to him and ask him to maybe ask other umpires to come to that meeting and other coaches to come, and maybe some interested parents that have some sort of tie-in with Pleasant Heights ballpark. I'm sure they'll have some good constructive criticism or critiques for improving the park. If Mr. Dolak you could come to that meeting also. There's an issue that I spoke with Mr. Bolden about, you know, a hollow along third base side. If that could be filled, my suggestion is use some landfill, free landfill, or bring it up, you know, over the course of 5-7 years. Maybe we can level it with the field, use it for seating, parking, something else. But if you could come to that meeting, that would be great. I know we have a board member sitting here. If it rains that day, could you possibly look into having it at the church, Second Baptist Church inside? I'm sure Mr. Hyman would be glad to open up his door and say, if we can't fit all under the shelter, move it to the church. Is that something you can do, or do you want to do? What's that?
That could be a request, please.
Okay, you heard me? Okay, good, I didn't know. So, let's see. And just to the chief, you did the DUI checkpoint. I didn't mean to cut you off last week. Can you tell us how that went? Want to stay up that?
That was State Highway Patrol.
State Highway Patrol. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to city council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Yes, my name's Elizabeth Smith, and I live at 815 North 6th Avenue. I had given everybody here a letter that I'd like to read to you. Mayor Mucci in attendance. Let me introduce myself. Elizabeth Smith. I reside at 815 North 6th Avenue, JFK Building, City of Steubenville. As everyone knows, or should know, that our building is in complete disarray. Money has been spent to bring an outsider in with no knowledge of our real problems. All they are concerned with is power. All they are concerned with is the power they can hold, the prestige they get through it and rule as they see fit or do as they say. As a lot of residents know that nothing is being done to improve our building as well as our safety, let me explain a few things. Our back door has been down for at least 3 to 4 months. Who cares? Not the management. We get cussed out on a daily occurrence and being told that we do not let anybody in our building that doesn't belong, but that only applies to certain people. Bed bugs running rampant. They won't spray if they don't see them. They crawl up the halls, in the hallways, and outside on our porch furniture as well. People walking around with them all over their bodies. We don't even know if we even have an exterminator anymore. Management. Managers are so afraid that they are going to lose their jobs and afraid to speak with residents without getting their heads snapped off. Records are coming up missing from our files, and I know from personal experience only because I have to get rid of my pet after 17 and a half years, and they won't let her be grandfathered in the lease, saying I want special attention. No, that's not it. I had paperwork stating why I had brought another cat in for her condition at the time, and so far it's extended her life 3 extra years. That was a lost cause speaking to them on the issue. They don't want to hear it. Last but not least, board members. The way they are speaking towards the residents, calling them liars, sneaks, disrespecting them to where family members want to move them out of the building after they have been there 32 years. I've been there 17 and a half years, and this is my home. Let me stay with this just for a minute or two, please. We have a sheriff and her regulators who throw people out of the building. Who pays for that if they get hurt? Ms. Smith removed a gentleman out of the building and he was in there just to tell the resident that his father had passed away. Nothing was said to her, only because Mr. Hyman gave her the go-ahead. This is no joke when people start getting hurt and lawsuits start. Ms. Smith publicly humiliated 16 people at my bingo and was going to have one lady arrested because she spoke back to her. That got way out of hand, and I stopped it. Mr. Hyman chases vehicles down the parking lot, tries to remove their fobs and keys if he doesn't know them. Gets into arguments with the people. It's just crazy. I can't even tell you how many times he's pulled his crap on me. He's a board member and he will have me evicted. And at the time, I got an attorney's advice, and he was told to go for it. It will be recorded, and HUD knew what was going on at that time. There is more that could be said, but will you listen? They don't have or show respect towards the residents. Yes, I will say that I could have had your board member, Ms. Smith, locked up for her knocking me into a wall and a restraining order placed on her, but I chose not to at that time. There were residents in the hall and doorway that saw the whole thing. One neighbor I told not to come in the hall, he was in a wheelchair. This woman showed such rage and threw out racial slurs at me, just unreal. One of her biggest outbursts was last Thanksgiving with yelling, screaming, and making statements that her brother raped her. And I know her brother and her mother, and that never happened. I'm sorry to sound this way, but I'm not going to deal with this anymore. And she will be locked up the next time before someone gets hurt. You know I have more respect for my fellow residents and myself that she will never have. She can't respect herself, much less others, and this is what you put in here. She needs to read her bylaws under being on the board, and she doesn't follow it a bit. As far as a new interim director at our building, the words are lost in his meaning. Whether it be 90 days or possible 60 days, as he states, there is no compassion towards the elderly, and the feelings he has are cold towards the residents. What this man lacks is common sense and is outweighing his knowledge of human compassion. If money does this to a person, then I feel sorry for them. We are in a concentration camp, except for the drugs, booze, hookers, we share the building with. And please don't let me forget the live-ins. Management knows who they are and speaks to them on a regular daily routine. What's wrong with this picture? We do have people who care and take pride in what they think, and no one listens. I want to say that Mr. DiLoretto, as well as Dr. Petrola and Mr. James Mavromatis, do care about us and want us to live in a safe environment, not a dictatorship as we are now. I hope you can find a place in your heart and mind to help us as we reach out for your help. Please listen to the residents of the JFK building, and I won't leave out our neighbors that have to put up with the drunkenness, the yelling, the screaming, and just everything else that goes on in our building. As I know, and so do the other residents, that they do care for us, that care for our homes. I want to thank you for your time in this matter, and I am pleading once more for your help in this matter. Finally, what is really needed is for Mr. James Mavromatis to be made our executive director. And that's somebody that we can trust. And the people are getting extremely upset because they can't have him. I mean, it's like he's treated us as individuals. And that's more than I can say for the board members. And I'm mainly here for that purpose, to see if there's any way that they can be removed from there. There's no reason why Mr. Hyman should be sitting in his vehicle still, up and down the parking lot, having secretaries come out to his vehicle, having all the maintenance staff come to him. He never stayed in the building before, but he has been with this Mr. Jenkins since he's been here. And I'd asked for a meeting with Mr. Jenkins, he gave me 12 minutes, and I don't think I had the full 12 minutes. And that's upsetting, very upsetting, that somebody that's in there that's trying to help us out and to get somebody in there that could help us with our problems when need be. It's not a run every day with somebody like that, but somebody that can answer our questions and give us the right answers, and not sit at a board meeting and have them, I'm sorry, lie to us. And they won't give us answers when we ask for them. We do live there, we do pay rent, and I'm sure some of our rent goes into their salaries. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else wanting to speak on that particular subject before I try to address some of the concerns? Okay, if not, let me try to address some of the concerns. There are 5, Liz, you're asking the questions, if you can just focus here. There are 5 board members
Yes,
on
sir.
the Metropolitan Housing Authority. You don't have to stand, I just want you to
Okay.
listen. There are 5 board members on the Metropolitan Housing Authority. Metropolitan Housing Authority is created by the federal government, HUD. The assistance that they give to residents of our community, to residents of Jefferson County, residents throughout the state of Ohio, throughout this country, is for a temporary assistance in housing, to help families and people to move on. Throughout generations, once again, people continue to abuse the system and think that they are deserving of this housing, and in some cases, rightfully so. But there was 5-member board created. The city of Steubenville, since it was created, has 2 appointments. The county has 3 appointments. I believe one is the common pleas judge, one is the probate judge, and one is the board of county commissioners. Throughout the years, my appointment was really never a resident. There were some concerns that residents weren't represented on the board, so it was recommended by the federal government, HUD, that one of the appointees be a resident of Metropolitan Housing Authority. It could have been from JFK, it could have been from Gaylord, it could have been from the scatter sites of Section 8, but somebody that's receiving assistance. At the time, and it was agreed upon, that the appointees, which I just named who they are, including the mayor of the city of Steubenville, it was suggested that the city of Steubenville, because of their 2 appointments, appoint one of the residents. Well, according to our charter, I have to appoint a city resident because I'm the mayor of the city of Steubenville. I asked for information from the representative, Angela Kurtal, to help me out in the search. In fact, Liz, you were interested in that position, along with one of my good friends, Raymond, who was also interested in that particular position and all. But knowing the situation, I spoke with the 4th Ward Council member, and that's the name that she recommended. And let me tell you that all my appointments, regardless what board or commission, is approved by this council. Okay, so there's a legislative action that happens also. But with that being said, and with the understanding of the makeup of the board, there are mechanisms in place for the housing units. Just because my appointee as a resident was from the JFK doesn't mean that she's only there for the residents of the JFK. She's representing all metropolitan housing authorities throughout the whole county, including the Tiltonsville site, the Mingo site, the Toronto site, what's out in Wintersville, the scatter sites and all. She's not there as a personal appointee for the JFK. I know a lot of the residents feel she is, and a lot of the residents feel that she is strong-willed in her beliefs. But let me say that she should represent all residents throughout Jefferson County. Now, this subject is taking a life on its own, quite frankly, because next month I do have a meeting scheduled with our congressman who was misled in some of the statements that were made and some of the calls his office received. I have a meeting also with the other appointees that appoint people to the Metropolitan Housing Authority, just to talk about some of these issues. But your issues that you addressed in the letter that you presented to us today really should be going to the resident manager of the facility of JFK. Every facility has a resident manager that you should bring in these concerns to, so they can get the proper people identified. Now, it's no secret that Metropolitan Housing Authority has been going through some trying times. They removed an executive director because he didn't really retire, and you know that, and I know that. He was asked to move on, and he did. And maybe that's for the good, maybe not, I don't know. But there's a temporary, and we had a temporary acting director, Mr. Hyman, in there. And there was a movement to get one of our outstanding citizens appointed to be the director. And just because everybody didn't agree to that, doesn't really call for a person to be removed as a board member. If that board member did push you, and there was some evidence of that, then that's a good cause for me to talk to her and ask this council to reconsider, okay? There's got to be justification and causes as we move through the process. And I don't have that evidence here, nor do I have, knowing somewhat the system, that any of the procedures fall. These concerns about bed bugs and all should be brought to the attention of the resident manager, who should bring it to the attention of the board. This council, this city, as I explained a couple weeks ago, spends $0 with on Metropolitan Housing, on the Housing Authority. We do every once in a while, as we did when I first got on council, rezone property. We were told that it had to be outside the census tract 1, 2, 3, and and the housing to be rezoned on Lover's Lane. In fact, where I grew up and lived, the convenience store, that's a laundromat now, that site was rezoned, although they didn't build there and all. That's the only active role that this council plays in, other than approving the recommendations or appointments that I recommend to them if they choose to do so. But there's a whole structure within Metropolitan Housing Authority to address these concerns for you. This council couldn't tell you about bed bugs. We can make a call. I'll surely address the issue with the interim director, Mr. Jenkins, when I speak with him on why there may or may not be, because you're not even sure if there's an exterminator or not. But Metropolitan Housing Authority is where you really need to address that. So hopefully I gave you a little bit of history and understanding of where we're coming from. And I promise you I will continue to monitor the situation. Again, next month, I believe the middle of the month or so, I'm not quite sure when, I do have a meeting with the congressman to discuss some of these issues. Let me tell you one of the things I'm going to say straightforward to the congressman and to Mr. Jenkins, that there's no doubt that the present board members and future board members need to have some training on how to be a board member. There's no doubt that there's some inexperience on that and their actual jurisdiction. From some of the stories I heard from you through other people and all, I'm a little shocked and amazed that a board member would take those type of approaches or action, but maybe they don't know better. Training is definitely necessary, but you, Liz, should not put up abuse from anyone. The next time somebody wants to shove you or say things to you, please contact the police department, at least to make a report. And if not, you have security right there at the building, Jefferson Security. Make them aware of it so they can write a report too. So with that, is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Helen Freeman, 129 Bowman Avenue, Steubenville. Is there anything being addressed about on-street parking? Because I go and visit my mother who lives on Cleveland Avenue, and whenever I do, there is hardly any place to park. She has a neighbor who has just moved in. It's a one-bedroom house, because I used to talk with the guy who previously lived in that house whenever I was living with her. It is a one-bedroom house. There are at least 5 people living in this house, and they all have vehicles. There is a house across the street from her. It is a single-family home. It's one of those ones that they turned into one of them upstairs, downstairs duplexes. The downstairs is the 1-bedroom, upstairs is the 2-bedroom. The guys in the upstairs are all the gas drilling guys. There's about 5 or 6 of them, and that's a 2-bedroom house. So there is no place to park. And if I do manage to park in her driveway, which I try not to do, but because my sister's in and out from work, and she's home from college, she's in and out from work and stuff like that, so I cannot park in the driveway, so that way she has a place to park when she comes home. And there's no place to park. I was hoping that something was being done about on-street parking. I don't know if there's a limit on how many people can live in one dwelling.
We do have zoning codes. If you think a structure is violating the single family or whatever zoning it is, you can feel free to contact our planning and zoning office, give them the address, and they could do it. However, streets are public streets for public parking. Until it is instituted or recognized no parking on one side or not. Don't forget, there's no parking that's going to apply for you too when you go visit your mother.
Oh, I know. I know.
Mr. Boland, I see you're grabbing the microphone.
And thank you, Your Honor, and I think you beat me to the punch. Ma'am, I would suggest you might want to speak with Mr. Petrozzi about that particular unit, and I don't know, also maybe Mr. Dolac and the chief could expand upon with you parking in that particular street, but I think if you have a concern about a particular house, I would ask you to contact Mr. Petrozzi.
Okay.
We have to help you out.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. Let's go around the room first. Is there anyone else? If not, Mr. Isaac, and then we'll adjourn the meeting. Oh.
Good afternoon, Council. Jeffrey Hawkins, 1515 Ridge Avenue, Steubenville, Ohio. Just like to know on fire hydrants, I noticed on the corner of Carnegie and Ridge, and also on the corner of Euclid and Carnegie, they just put in 2 brand new fire hydrants. But where I live at on my block on Ridge in Ohio, that hydrant is out of service. And I understand on the corner down on McDowell and Ridge, there's a fire hydrant. I take it must be working, but this fire hydrant on the corner of Ohio and Ridge is out of service. It's been out of service for I don't know how long. And I was just wondering when we can expect to get that fixed.
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Bell.
Yes, sir. We are, administration is going to do a study of how many hydrants we have out in the entire city, and it's unfortunately a fairly large number. And we've been working through those. I know we did over 12 last year. We should be over 20 repaired this year. So if you could get with me after the meeting, let me know. I'd like to pass these along. I know we're repairing them. certainly, one thing they look at is to make certain that they have the proper coverage. So when they have a number of hydrants in a certain area out, we want to make certain we've got enough in that area done. We'd love to get them all done. Cost is the issue, but safety is obviously paramount. So I'd be happy to talk to you after this, and then I'd like to get those locations down, and I can talk to Chief Capaldi and Chuck Murphy tomorrow and just give you a better idea of where those are on the schedule.
I appreciate that.
All right,
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I happen to know the exact location of Mr. Baldwin on Ridge in Ohio. I'm familiar with that particular one. So, is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state your name and address.
My name's Carolyn Boucher. I live at 401 Union Avenue. I've lived there since 1977. Saturday morning, I woke up, 6 o'clock in the morning, I opened my front door. The flower pots that have been on the top of the steps, the front of the porch for like 10 years were dumped in front of my door. I called the police, but I didn't make a police report, but they came up on my porch and dumped them. And then they took a little flag thing with flowers that there's pockets and they grow. They threw it over on the other corner. And they went on a block and they vandalized in front of another residence and took some gnomes. And it was like, another neighbor told me, it was 11:30 Friday night. A bunch of girls through the center of the street. Do they have cameras still? Can they put cameras out up there?
Chief, are you familiar with the camera location?
We can't, with the cost of moving a camera, those cameras aren't just arbitrarily moved.
Right.
It's a big expense to put them someplace. And I believe on that side of the street, Chris, we didn't get a grant for that, correct? That side of Lawson?
It's the corner of Union and Plum.
Oh,
401.
okay. But there's not a camera.
There's roads up there. There's bed bugs up there. There's kids up there that talk sexually explicit. I sit on my porch and I hear little kids saying, I mean, maybe they're 12 or 14, but it's not something I should have to sit there and listen to. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Just a quick follow-up. Bill Isaac, 3 and Los Angeles. A quick follow-up on that thing. You're meeting with the congressman. Is it open to the public?
No.
Not for public participation, just open for the public.
No. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address.
Ruby Stubbs, 621 North Fifth Street. We were talking about the jungle that I'm living in. Have you decided when you're going to get your ordinance or whatever you have to do to see about getting that cut down?
Your Honor, I do know, Ms. Stubbs, that, and I believe Mr. Patrolman Scott spoke to you. I know that our prosecutor didn't feel that particular area at the definition of the weeds in that particular area for it to be something of a violation. We haven't talked about changing that. So I suppose the answer is no, we haven't looked into that. I have been by there and I understand the problem. I'd be happy to talk it over with Mr. Petrozzi, just see if there's any, if our prosecutor doesn't feel that it's something that we can bring charges on, then I'm not certain what we're going to be able to change it to do that.
Okay, because in the 819, 2 blocks down, the same thing is happening to an empty lot. That the people aren't cutting it, and then you're going to have that again. So I mean, can we get a date or try to set some, because it's not going to get better, it's not going to be on its own.
I understand, ma'am.
But you can't give me no date or when you
I
can
don't
talk
have a
to
date for
them?
you.
So it's been like 5 weeks. So, I mean, it's like, seems like downtown, you don't consider it downtown, but I consider it downtown. And I don't know if our city dollars just go within those one block, east, north, and west, but I thought the city dollars go all over the town. And it's like the north end is getting pushed to the side.
Ma'am, the north end is as important as any other area that
We don't
you
get nothing done.
I have gone by that area and looked at it. I think the best thing I can offer is that we'll continue to review it, and I don't have an answer for you.
I talked to Officer Scott
Right.
about that. He said he would check it out. But
Right.
those highways, if we can find people downtown for broken glass, you haven't found nobody yet for none of those highways because they're still there. I mean, somebody's not doing something. I mean, I don't think it's fair to find that man last week said for the broken glass, the man for the permit, they got fined. Not one person on the north end got fined and their grass is still just that high.
I know Patrolman Scott is up there quite often, ma'am, and
Okay.
it's on his schedule to look at that.
Okay, and I have another issue. I just want to put this out here for you. Take it however you want to take it, no disrespect to no one. Saturday, some kids went up to, should be a police report on this. Some kids went up to Jim Woods. Guy had his dog out. So is there a leash law up there? Okay, he had his dog out. Kids were playing. His answer to the parents were, you have no business being here. You're not allowed up here. They were black kids. So now, you know what we know what we're fighting with in Steubenville. So maybe you just need to check on that guy. Because it's not a nice thing to say, and it gets in the wrong person's hands. Because these young bucks don't care. Okay, so he was a mill worker, and he was talking to a mill worker that had their grandkids right here. And for him to say, you're not allowed up here. So they did call the police, because he said he wasn't going to put his dog on the beach. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak to City Council on city business? Please come forward, state their name and address. Mr. Metcalf.
Your Honor, if not, I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
It's been already moved to second that we adjourn. Roll call.
Mr. Generoto? Aye. Mr. Johnson? Aye. Mr. Metcalf? Aye. Mr. Paul? Aye. Mr. Magna? Aye.
Good job.